Hello, everybody. Hi. It's been a minute. We haven't had a meeting in a month. We always do this every year. We take off the first meeting in July after budget season. There's always a holiday. People want to take time off. So anyway, we're back. We have our first meeting of the new fiscal year tomorrow. So we definitely, as you can see, have some things to catch up on. Yeah, I hope you guys have been enjoying your summer and everything. We will say, I guess probably most of you know, you've seen the signs around town, but early voting for the August 6th election is happening now, the county election. That also includes the primary for the November election, for state, federal, yes, those things, and governor. So please make sure you're getting out to vote. Early voting is now through August 1st, and then election day is Thursday, August the 6th. And then I think the absentee ballot deadline is July 27th. So if you meet criteria for that, just make sure you're keeping tabs on that date. Okay. Cool. We'll jump into it. We've got a few things to cover. We'll be getting our monthly budget update from our CFO, Miss Pickle. She will be giving us our first kind of rough estimate of where we landed at the end of the fiscal year, because this will include all of our June things, but we won't have like the final numbers until our auditor audits us and presents on that, and that's usually later in the fall. So keep an eye out for that. Our CFO is also just going to present a report on our debt obligation capital outlay note that we just signed. We voted on this back in June. It was for a 5-year loan for $540,000 for various public works vehicles. And so we already voted on that. She's just presenting this because it's been signed officially. Item number 3, kind of like a bittersweet conversation to have, but we're going to be getting an update on our Safe Streets for All grant application from our Public Works Director. If you guys were plugged into the budget conversation at all and our conversation around the capital improvement plan, we ultimately decided not to include the Safe Streets for All grant in our capital improvement plan at this time, because the award was for just over $5 million, but we were going to have to match that with $1.4 or so million of local tax dollars, and just with the adoption of our capital improvement plan, looking at the 5-year horizon, having to prioritize various projects. Unfortunately, there just are other projects that are higher priority than that. And so Director Tate's just going to be talking about his communication with the Federal Highway Administration around that grant, and that we have officially withdrawn from that grant. So they'll just be talking about the details of that tomorrow if you want to tune into that. That'll just be a discussion thing in the work session. Another discussion only item is item 4. Our city attorney, Mr. Stoltz, will be talking about Public Chapter 1048, which is a new public chapter that was adopted and went into effect this year by the state legislature, and it finally allows for executive session of governing bodies, like local governing bodies, to meet to interview applicants for certain director level positions. So it's like city manager, like public works director, fire chief, I'm trying to think, other director level positions. Those are just the ones we have, but excludes police chiefs. So no matter who you're interviewing for police chief, that has to be done openly out in the public. What executive session means is just that they get to remain confidential and be interviewed confidentially if they choose. It's not an automatic thing. They actually have to opt into it. But that was put into place basically because city managers, I don't know if you guys know this, but just broadly known, city managers have high turnover rates because, governing bodies turnover, and if they're like, that's not my person, I want somebody else. As long as there's a majority of the governing body, they just fire that city manager and move on. City manager doesn't have to do anything wrong to get fired. So if they're seeking employment elsewhere, if they're trying to find another opportunity somewhere, or like a fire chief or, whoever, they may not necessarily want their employer to know that they are looking for other job opportunities before they officially, have been offered the position. So that's what this public chapter does. Once they have been selected as the candidate, before the body actually votes on it, we can't deliberate or vote. We just do the interview in executive session. Then they would become publicly known. But again, that was really just to protect candidates, and also broaden the candidate pool, because there are people who wouldn't apply for jobs because they know that everything in Tennessee is open to public record, public meetings, etc. And when we're talking about personnel things, there needed to be a little more some protection there for the candidates. So I actually approached my Senator Bo Watson about this 5 years ago, alongside Vice Mayor Berry, and we asked him why we didn't do this in Tennessee. We didn't really get a good answer, and just kept saying, well, hey, there's all these other states that do this, and would help cities, maybe get access to more candidates, etc., for some of these positions. And ultimately, he said there was no political will for it. So thankfully, that changed in the past 5 years. I'm grateful to have this implemented, but I'm hoping we won't have to use it anytime soon. But we have some really great employees. We do have our public works director will be retiring at the end of this year. So sometime next year we will have to have that conversation. But I'm not ready to do that just yet. All right, item 5, we're just going to be reappointing a current member of the Nonprofit Citizen Advisory Board back to that board for another 2-year term. She was willing to continue serving in that role. Item 6 is an application for a certificate of compliance for Red Bank Wine and Spirits. So that's the liquor store that's in the Food City Plaza. One of the owners is just checking out, and it's just going to be one of them is taking over full ownership. Anyway, so we have to issue a new certificate of compliance. Nothing's changing, it's just ownership is changing. Item 7 is approved trust for public land contract for up to $50,000, and that is something that we actually did. I think at least the last year, maybe 2 years, but we did that because we work with them quite a bit. They help us with certain park projects, with getting easements and working with homeowners and helping do planning and community engagement and all these things. And so we have this running contract with them. It can't exceed $50,000, so it would be no more than that. It was already approved in the budget, but as we make the expenditure or are approving the actual expenditure, we have to vote on all of those things throughout the year. So that one's coming up first thing. Item 8 is approving an agreement with Central Technologies for surveillance integration, access control, and duress button. I flinched when I read that, and I was talking to staff because I'm like, what do you mean? What does surveillance mean? So really it's just our security camera systems right now at all of our public buildings. It's both of our fire stations, our police department, courtroom, city hall, public works garage. I think there was another 1 or 2 more. It's just government buildings. They all have different security camera systems. None of them are integrated. None of them work together. Some of them, are just really outdated. So we are looking to sign this agreement to have a uniform security camera system that operates at all of those buildings. It's not to surveil anybody other than just for security purposes. So that's what that is. Let's see. Item 9 is so this is pretty cool. well, if you're like a weirdo like me, but presentation and approval of the Charter Review Citizens Advisory Board report regarding amendment of our city charter via home rule. So we have a home rule charter. I don't know if you guys haven't heard me talk about that before. We're pretty unique in that. I can't remember what the number is, but we're like one of maybe only 20 or so cities out of 345 in the state who have a home rule charter. And it's really great because what that means is that when we want to make changes to our charter, our residents and registered voters vote on those changes. If you have other charter types, like if you have a private act charter, anything you want to change in your charter has to go through the legislature. So you have to literally like get a legislator to carry this for you. And then I actually just recently heard this. I was at the TML conference a week and a half ago talking. I won't name them because I'm not trying to like cause a fuss, but one of our local other municipalities here in Hamilton County have a private act charter, and they needed to make a change. Oh, they wanted to make a change to add term limits. In a certain way, and they got their legislator to carry it, blah, blah, blah. It got voted on, it got passed, and then when it came back to them, it had slightly different parameters contained in it that were not vetted with the city itself. The legislators just changed it on their own and voted on it, and that was that. So then that became their part of their charter that they had to abide by, that they didn't vote on, that their residents didn't vote on. So we're really lucky that we have a home rule charter, and we should never ever give it up because it gives us a lot of flexibility and it allows our local voters to make to decide to make changes to our charter. So anyway, that's what a home rule charter is. Our charter has not been updated in Red Bank since 2000. So it's been 26 years. Legally within our charter, it does say that we are supposed to convene a charter review board every 5 years to make updates and just review it and make sure we don't want to make any changes. Some of this was prompted because some state laws have changed that have impacted us. One in particular, as you guys know, impacted how our candidates run, like what their seat, how they run. We all run at large now, but before we had like district seats where the candidate had to live in that district to run, but everybody in Red Bank still voted for them. And it was just confusing, and state legislature passed a law. We didn't think it was going to impact us, but then it ended up being decided that it did impact us. The Attorney General gave an opinion and said, yes, it does impact Red Bank. So we had to go to all at-large seats, and so you can live anywhere in Red Bank and run for any of the seats. You don't have to live in like a certain district anymore. But in our charter right now, it still says you have to live in a district because our charter hasn't been updated since 2000. And this law changed, I think, in 2023. So, and there's been just other statutory updates that we need to incorporate into the charter. It's just not current with state law. State law still wins the day, but it's confusing to people who might want to go online and look at our charter and say like, well, you're not doing this right. Well, we are, it's just not updated in the charter. So that's the whole point of this charter review board, was to really bring us up to current times, 26 years after the last review. There's just some things that the charter review board made recommendations on, like keeping our home rule charter, and like keeping our council manager form of government, just updating it to the current like state law version of that. We have various home rule amendments that have been approved via referendum by voters over the years. None of those have happened in the past 6 years since I've been in office. Those were all done, in the years previous to me being elected. So just incorporating those, They recommend keeping concurrent court jurisdiction, which we have at our city court. We have like municipal jurisdiction and also general sessions jurisdiction. And we are one of only 14 or so cities in the whole state that have that. So we're pretty special in some really interesting ways that you wouldn't think about. But I really like that we have that ability to handle some of those cases here locally, because I used to be a state probation and parole officer with Tennessee, and I have been in the Hamilton County criminal court system, and it's really painful when cases get dragged out for years sometimes, because it's just really chaotic and disorganized, and they're overwhelmed and so on and so forth. So it's nice to be able to handle some of those things here locally. It just helps things move along a lot quicker. People can start, paying their fines and fees faster, working on getting their license reinstated, whatever the issue is. And on that note, we do have a special judge election this year. I mentioned the election. We have a special judge election. As you guys know, Johnny Houston, we had to vacate his seat due to medical reasons. And so there are 3 candidates, Emily O'Donnell, Meredith Moschel, and Brian Haas, who are running for the seat. I'm sure you've seen some signs around town. You should try to reach out to them and talk to them, meet them if you can. But yeah, that will be decided on August the 6th, and they'll serve the remainder of Johnny's term, which is another 4 years. Anyway, so that's what the Charter Review Board convened to do. They're going to present a report on their, recommendations. And then we will have like a first hearing, a vote on it tomorrow on like adopting that amended version of the charter. We'll have to have another reading, and then what's going to happen is it's going to be on the ballot in November, because the voters have to vote on it. So just trying to get ahead of things and let you guys know when you see something. I don't know what the phrasing is going to look like. It's going to say something like amended, vote to amend Red Bank Home Rule Charter, something. And you'll have to, we'll put the charter, the amended version of the charter, like on the website so you can read it beforehand. But like all of the things that are going to be recommended to keep or change, those are in that report that's being presented tomorrow. So you can have that information there. But like I said, it's really just basic, a lot of just modernizing, updating to current state law and so on and so forth. So, yeah, we have to vote on it. It's going to end up on the ballot. Would really like you guys to just vote to approve the updated charter, because if you don't, I don't really know what that means. We're just left with like a charter that's in shambles and hasn't been updated since 2000. So isn't current with state law, will be confusing for people to read if they want to learn more about how our city operates. So yeah, spread the word. Okay, item 11, 12, and 13. So these are 3 different rezoning requests. We have one and there's public hearings for all 3 of them. So if you live in the area, or if you're curious about it, you want to drive by the parcels and check them out to see what you think, please do that. But know that after our first vote tomorrow, we have a second vote, so you will still have time to give comments if you can't make it tomorrow. So the first rezoning request is for 3714 Reading Road, and they want to rezone it from R1 to RTZ, which is residential townhome / 0 lot line. My understanding is that the developer wants to build 2 detached single-family homes on the lot. It's not very wide, but there would still be, I want to say like maybe a 10-foot buffer between them. But in order to subdivide it into 2 lots, it has to be downzoned to RTZ. So that's what the request is there. The next rezoning request is for 306 California Avenue, from R1 to RTZ. So there's like a site plan that's uploaded to the work session packet if you want to look at that on redbanktn.gov. But it shows that there's 3 single-family detached homes on California Avenue that are on each on like about 0.16 acres of land, okay? And then behind these 3 homes is like a 1.12 acre lot that the developer wants to subdivide as a flag lot for potential future development there. He's not proposing to build anything there right now, but I have gotten some emails from neighbors who are concerned about the flag lot, particularly, not the 3 single-family homes on California Avenue, but the flag lot, because it's in a ravine where there's steep slopes, there's kudzu, there's some stormwater issues, there's some wildlife habitat there, and some other things. So I have walked and driven by that lot, but it's been a minute, so I'm going to do that before we have our meeting tomorrow. But I also do have some concerns about the stormwater runoff. Should there be development there in the future in the ravine? So yeah, I just wanted to put that on y'all's radar. Maybe take a look at it, see what you think. And we'll have our public hearing tomorrow and first reading. And then the last rezoning request is for 4717 Hawk Den Trail from R1 to RTZ. You guys may not know that road. If you're familiar with Red Bank roads, that one's not one you would know because it's a flag lot. There's only 1 home there, but there's like a flag lot behind that home, and the developer is wanting to put in 5 single-family homes. And it's a parcel that's just been undeveloped forever, as far as we know. So yeah, and that one has a site plan too on the work session packet if you want to look at that and see what that looks like. But it's actually just right down the corner, or right down the road for me, so I drive by it all the time, and I know the person who lives there, and it seems like it would probably be a good use of that land because it's just sitting there doing nothing right now. That would add housing to our community, and also housing stock. That's the word I was looking for, and also expand our property tax base. So that's what we want to see, is like gentle infill development like that, but very responsible. So that's where the concern is with the one with stormwater. So just gonna have to see what kind of conversations we can have about that. And then the last item, sorry guys, this is like going for a long time, but this is the last and final voting item. We're gonna have a first reading to update our solid waste fee ordinance, and also, what was the other part? Oh, updating like anti-litter regulations, and but mainly this is for the solid waste fee. So you guys pay right now, if you own a property in Red Bank, you pay $192 a year for a garbage can. And that comes out to $16 a month, and that has been the fee for the past 17 years. It has not been raised in 17 years. So at this point, we got word back from the comptroller when we submitted our budget, because our sanitation fee is not high enough because it hasn't been updated in 17 years. We are having to dip into the solid waste fund, and it's bringing the fund balance down significantly. And we're having to do that because the solid waste fee is not covering operations of our solid waste division. And so this is being proposed to go from $16 a month. You don't pay it monthly, except it goes in your escrow if you have a mortgage. But it's $16 a month or $192 a year. And shoot, I don't have the yearly amount for the new fee, but it would be going up to $24.55 a month. Still considerably more affordable than if you wanted to move out to the county where they don't have trash service and you have to pay a subscription for private trash pickup. Significantly less. Plus you get all the other things. They come and pick up, they do like the oil, the used oil pickup and tire pickup and things like that you wouldn't get with a private trash service. So, all of that to say, that's what's being proposed. It's a first reading. Like I said, all of our ordinances, we have this first reading and then we'll have the second reading, and that'll be the final vote. But our Public Works Director will be presenting on this tomorrow if you want to hear more about that. But it's got to happen because the comptroller told us it has to happen. When the comptroller's telling you that you're not bringing in enough money to cover operations of your division, like a solid waste division, then you have to look at that. So that's really where that stemmed from. That was in the letter they sent us approving our budget, but saying, but hey, you guys need to look at that. So that's where we're at. That was a lot of information. And my neighbor was mowing, so I was trying to talk loud over them. Hopefully you guys heard all the details. If you don't have questions, you guys, know where to find me if you do, or I'd love to see you at our meeting tomorrow at 5 o'clock, work session, and then our regular meeting at 6. Yeah, if there's nothing else, happy to see you guys again. Practice radical empathy. Have a good night. I'll see you tomorrow.